Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook podcast, proudly brought to you by Pat and George from Mortgage Choice SCW. I'm your host, Tim Williams. We're back for episode 4 of the NRL Supercoach pre-season. Here with us here today, it's a bloke who is going through a bit of a tough time. We unmasked him a few weeks back, and I mean, it's Valentine's Day today. He's doing it a little bit tough at home because, Spy, ever since you've been unmasked, mate, you've been batting good sorts off with a stick down the streets of Sydney, and it must be tough on the family. You holding up all right?
Well, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Holding up well, mate. Holding up well into the trials, and I tell you, I'm just ready for some rugby league. I feel like sometimes the off seasons do seem a little bit quick. This one, for whatever reason, seems like an eternity.
Yeah,
I think it was the back end of last year's Supercoach season that has me firing because I need some redemption after that last month, and mate, I'm ready to go. I don't think I've got any stories this week about words in my sleep or anything like that, so maybe next week come back to me and we'll see where we're at.
Well, mate, your nightmares last week have hopefully subsided, but have you had any nightmares about Tanico or not Tanico? Because I sure as hell have.
I think it's probably a nightly occurrence, but I'm standing firm. No Nico to start, and then we'll just cross those fingers. He also played well on the weekend, but I mean, you've got to remember it was also a combinations game where a lot of defences, they haven't played together. The try he scored was really soft. He can play, but I mean, it's a new ball game come round one NRL. So, yeah, no dreams this week as such, but always on the mind, mate, always on the mind.
There are a lot of very nervous super coaches out there, non-Nico Hines owners watching the All-Star game because he looked bloody sharp, and to be honest, we probably shouldn't have expected anything less. Also with us for the SC Playbook podcast today, not so much a big deal batting good sorts off with a stick because Desi's been doing this since he was about 12 years old. But Desi, it's that time of year, NRL pre-season, where we're just weeks out from NRL round 1. You're a former champion of NRL Supercoach, so mate, your inbox must just be filling up with people asking for team advice. How are you handling that?
Oh, mate, as you said, fending them off with a stick. But yeah, no, I'm super keen, like Spy. A couple of weeks ago, I came in here. The juices weren't really flowing yet, but as soon as I saw a couple of floaters getting thrown by Latrell and Cody out to Cobbo, I was like, injected into me. I'm ready.
Good to hear it, mate. And another bloke having some serious nightmares is Matey the Waterboy, because last week when we were here, Saliva Havili had gone down injured. Now it's Hame Sele. Bunnies are just shot for forwards this season, and I don't know about you, Matty, but I've just about put a line through them as premiership contenders in 23.
I mean, that's one of the most outrageous things I've ever heard. I think we got big bad Dave Miley. He's going to step up this year, and mate, we're sweet. Don't worry about it.
Big Davey out of nowhere could just become Supercoach gold if those two boys are missing for a while.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be interesting to see like what they do, because the team that they're going to roll out in round 1 is going to be so different to what I thought like it was going to be like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, you're right. I think Big Dave's going to get a lot more minutes this year.
You also must be a bit concerned, Matty. Cam Murray saying that during the week he's going to, after about a month of the season, he's looking to go to rugby union. So, mate, he might not be here come Origin.
Mate, I know obviously he's not going to be that short, but just win a comp with us and then do whatever you want.
Do as you please. Guys, the unlimited group code for SC Playbook. Come in, join the group, take on the contributors. Prize announcement, $500 to the top-ranked subscriber to knock off our entire team of contributors. Hopefully, Spy, you knock all of them off so that we don't have to pay up, because I won't be paying you. No, we will if you knock them off. How I'm going to do it this season, if a subscriber wins, $500 in the pocket. If a non-subscriber wins, we'll go $250 in the pocket to the winner and $250 to the highest-ranked subscriber to come after that one. So $500 on the line for the SC Playbook followers this season. On today's show, the code for that, 845051. We'll put that across our socials in coming days. Today's show, NRL trial pointers. So we've obviously seen week 1 of the NRL trials. Teams have just dropped for week 2 of the NRL trials. Going to do a big deep dive into those team lists on beers and break-evens with the Rugby League guru tomorrow. So we'll just go through a few of the key points from those sides' names. Some interesting stuff there. The all-important fixture analysis, going through the main key points of that, who has the easiest draw to start, the toughest draws, a little few pointers around the buys that we need to be aware of. We'll continue on with our squad previews for the season today, the Roosters, Knights, Cowboys and Warriors. Paddy and George from Mortgage Choice SCW stop in for a chat. In true form, Paddy has one of the roguest takes I've just about ever heard in my life. It's around Tommy Turbo. He's a Manly fan, very controversial, and as much as I hate it, I've heard it. There are some numbers that back it up. The man, he has a bit of logic behind him. So good to talk to them. A few listener questions to wrap it up, and then, boys, we'll go from there. Starting off, Spy, we'll go with you, mate. Matty Person has dropped, or about to drop, the fixture analysis on the SC Playbook website. That'll be coming later this week. In-depth preview of that. You've had a bit of a read of it, and taking Matty's analysis, you're just going to touch on the sides with the softer and the sides with the harder draws to start the season.
Yeah, I can't claim the credit for this one. And just before we get to that, I don't know how she knows this, but the wife's just texted me. Must have known what we were talking about. And apparently I was muttering something in my sleep the other night. It says Blacklock 99. Look, that adds up, actually. So I'll keep you informed week to week what I've been dreaming about. But on to the draw.
You've just given Dragon supporters suffering from PTSD just another batch of it, because it was a tough grand final, that 99 one for Dragons fans.
There is a story to that one I'll save for another day. It is an absolute belter. In terms of the draw, so this is all from Maddie that did this, but the easiest run, I'm going to break it up into the easiest run, the toughest run, and just mention the buys. Let's start with the easiest run. I'm just going to mention 4 sides. And look, for me, I don't think you need to look too far past round 6 or 7. I think this is for the opening stanza of the competition. It's the North Queensland Cowboys. They are absolutely set to explode if they play anything like last year. I mean, there's a caveat to this every year in that defences can improve. Of course they can. Combinations can improve. You have those years where teams that battled the year before might come out and be okay to start the year. But if we base it on last year, the Cowboys look red hot to open the season. So you can't go wrong with attacking players from the Cowboys, essentially, especially in that back line.
I've done Spy there. We'll be touching on those guys today. And my first 5 rounds draw rating for them, I've got them at a 9 out of 10 on the easy to hard scale. Some real in-depth stuff there. But a 9 I think they've got the easiest draw to start the season. It's outstanding.
That's awesome. So it just means if you're sort of maybe nervous about paying a bit extra for Valentine or one of those boys, Scotty Drinkwater even, it just helps with that. If it's a tougher draw, it might be harder to do. But
if it was a slightly tougher draw, I wouldn't be starting with Val. Because of the draw, I'm almost too terrified not to own. That's the biggest conundrum in my side at the moment.
Yeah. And he's in my side at the moment. He could be nice, and he could be someone you can flick on after that opening 6 weeks, hopefully for a profit. It's one of those things, it could be a decisive decision early in the season, but we'll see where people land on that. There's a couple of sides that, personally, I don't think are overly relevant from Supercoach purpose, but it's St George and Newcastle, at least to start the season. There's probably a lot of watch guys on that. But they've got a good run if you are tempted to have a look at any of them. And the 4th one here, though, is relevant. It's the Gold Coast Titans. I believe not only the first 6 rounds, but I think the first 12 rounds are generally pretty good for them. So David Fafita, Tanner Boyd, if you own those sorts of fellas, could be just at a bit of an advantage there to start the year, which is good.
What I found, Spy, was that, and it's really good because it's keeping sides pretty wide open early on in the season, but you did mention it, but the teams we regard as the best teams in the competition, the top 4, top 8 sides from last season, all have really tough draws. And the sides with the easy draws, with the Cowboys being the exception, are generally the bottom tier sides in the competition. So it's making it really difficult.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing, isn't it?
Parramatta's a side that I'm like, I like a few of their players. The Bunnies as well, love a few of their players. Their draws are savage, so I'm just struggling to put any, particularly backline players, in their side. I dropped my team reveal on the SC Playbook website today, and I had Big Thompson on the wing there for the Bunnies in my side at a slightly awkward sort of 330k bracket. He's in there at the moment. I do think he's a great buy, but the draw is making it difficult.
It is, mate. Yeah, and throw on top of that, sides like Penrith and the Roosters have a bye within the first month, so not only is it the toughest draw, they've got that buy as well to consider, so it's good. It just opens things up. People might do things differently, and there's probably different ways to attack it as well. This is the first time we've had this probably in Supercoach history. It's been a while since we've had a buy in the NRL, so it's good. Just opens up things, and no one really knows what the right answer is. If someone's done a heap of mathematics around this and has really broken it down, send it through, please.
I don't want it. I don't overcomplicate it more than we have to. A few things, Spy, that I've had a bit of a look into around the buy, and it's funny when you put your team together and you're looking at the draw, you start piecing together the intricacies of the draw and where it does get difficult. A few that I've seen crop up. Tanner Boyd's in my team as it stands. My latest update, Nicho Hines, Tanner Boyd in alongside Nathan Cleary. You have to consider things though, like Penrith have the bye in round 3. Now, Tanner Boyd is like so far from locked into that team, it's not even funny. Like, I think he'll be there round 1. He's not even locked in for that. But if the Titans start slow, lose a couple of games, or Tanner Boyd struggles, Toby Sexton could come straight into that team. Brimson could go to 5'8". Jaden Campbell could go to fullback. There are so many options that could change this. So with Penrith having the bye in round 3, if you're running with Tanner Boyd on your bench, Nathan Cleary starting, Tanner Boyd gets dropped, you're forced into a trade straight away because you're down a halfback that week. The following week, the Sydney Roosters have the bye. They're, I believe, along probably with the Panthers, the most popular Supercoach team to start the season. Cheese, James Tedesco, Sammy Walker. There are so many good buys. Again, we'll get to their preview shortly. But starting with any more than 3, particularly frontline players, it's very... I don't think you can probably have more than 4 absolute max, because you get to round 4, you're in all sorts.
I think 4 max as well. Just because you're able to... With that 5th person or even the 4th person, surely you can find someone of value around that price on another side. It really opens things up. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'll jump onto the worst runs early, just for reference. And we've mentioned it a few times, but it's the Rabbitohs. They got a tough draw. Maybe they're good enough to overcome that early from a Supercoach perspective. I mean, I guess the thing is, from an NRL viewpoint, though, and Matty over there, maybe they win 14-12 a couple of times early in the season, which is great for a Rabbitohs supporter, but not necessarily for Supercoach, because there's not a lot of points in it. Will be interesting to see how that rolls out. Para's similar. They've got a pretty good side, but pretty tough early draw. The Sea Eagles have a tough draw and a round 2 bye, so that's a flag. Luckily with Schuster, he's so cheap it doesn't really matter. You can sit him on your bench that week that you don't need him. Maybe it's a question mark around Turbo, but we've been through him before. If you're not starting with him, that's obviously a good thing that you've got to back you up with that bye and a toughish draw, but he can also decimate anyone. Yeah, that's interesting. And just as a side note, it's Penrith, Melbourne and the Chooks all have toughish starts. Nothing crazy, and they're probably good enough to overcome that, but it's worth noting that, sorry, not the Chooks, Penrith and Storm have that opening draw that might just help any explosive starts compared to maybe if they had, St George and the Dolphins or something like that early, and the Warriors, who maybe weren't as relevant defensively last year. Yeah, the Sharkies is the other one who start the season. We touched on Nicho Hynes obviously quite extensively in last week's podcast, the Antipod Nicho or Antipod Nathan Cleary debate, and their draw, just first 3 rounds, scares me. I think goes the Bunnies and then Eels and Raiders. So those first 3 rounds, if Nicho can just average anything under sort of 85, I'll take that as a win as a non-owner if I do choose not to start with him. So my sort of rough plan, without sort of getting off track too much, but I suppose just planting a few seeds in the mind that we're thinking about buys and upcoming, is if I start with Tanner Boyd, the Panthers have the bye in round 3, I think it is. Tanner Boyd and the Titans have the bye in round 5. The Sharks have a tough first 3-round draw. Round 4, I believe they have the Dragons, which will be a tough watch as a non-Nicho owner. But round 5, I'm hoping to flip when Tanner is out with the bye to Nicho Hynes. Then hopefully that'll be a good move. But again, subject to change. Desi, can I jump in, Timmy, just really quickly?
You're allowed to, mate.
The reason I said that about the Chooks, I had a little note. Their first 2 rounds are the Dolphins and then the Warriors, which is great, but then they actually go into South Sydney, Parramatta Eels and the Melbourne Storm after that. So it does get a bit trickier, but I mean, that's probably a deal with it later situation. And if you know they've got the bye coming up, maybe that's where 3 or 4 Roosters and no more could be a good thing. But if you start with 2, I think that's probably... Round 4 bye, maybe that is where you flip Sam. I think you touched on it last week. Yeah. Maybe that's where you flip Sammy Walker to Nicho Hynes. Again, break-evens might not agree with that decision, but that's the week that, they obviously... The Sharks play the Dragons into the Warriors. Or something like Dan Tupou could then maybe be flipped after hopefully a hot start to someone like a Brian To'o after his bye. Yep. So there's options around it. Look into it and see what you think's best for your side. Desi, any takes around the weekly buys? And it's just something you've got to try and think ahead to each and every week. As Spy said, there's no correct or incorrect strategy, but how do you see it at this stage?
Yeah, like you said, we have no idea what the main strategy is going to be going into a season like this, so I'm kind of wary to not kind of overcomplicate it off the bat. I like where you guys are thinking, where you're talking about turning players into Hynes, starting without him. I think it's viable. It's always viable, even a season that wasn't structured like this. So yeah, Also, kind of like you were saying, you're going to have max 4 players from a team like the Panthers or the Roosters. You can cover it. You're not going to be like, you're not going to be decimated like a normal buy round over Origin season. You can cover it pretty comfortably. So don't go too gun-ho on the trades early, is my thinking.
Yeah, just on the trades as well, don't get too cute with all this, because if you leave out a heap of guys that you actually want in your best 17, you're then going to have to spend a heap of trades to get them back. So don't go mad. I think there's, like everything in Supercoach, there's a balance here of how you want to do it. But if you're leaving out 6 or 7 guys who go, I'll get them later, you still have to put out your fires, get rid of your underperformers, suspensions, injuries. So, for example, in my side, I've left out Brian To'o at this stage because I plan to get him later, and Nico, but I don't want to start adding Cleary and Garner and guys that I want to get in later because I might not have the trades to do it come the time. I think you just want a couple of those guys you can target without going crazy. I think that's just important to consider.
Yeah, and my concern with the buys now and overstacking from one team, and the Roosters are the one that I just keep wanting to plug my side with Roosters players, is I like your approach, Desi. Very you style, nonchalant. Don't overthink things, because us super coaches, we can be our own worst enemy, can't we?
Certainly can.
That was a very backhanded insult. I didn't mean it that way. No, I kind of did. But you can overthink it. However, I keep coming back to round 4 on the Roosters because I suppose it's so relevant to my team for starters, but you get those 4 players who are guaranteed out that week. In week 3, 2 players come down with COVID, 2 players get HIAs, 2 players get suspended. All of a sudden, you're probably not going to be short early on in the year, but when so many of our players in our squad are cheapies early on, job security is terrible, so players can get dropped, and then you might be playing sort of a guy like Khan Piera or Remus Smith, who you really don't want to be in your side, who have scored back-to-back 20s. That's where it becomes an issue. Anyway, we'll move on from the fixture analysis for now. As I said, head to the SC Playbook website. Later in the week, I believe that article will be ready to go and up on site. Guys, very excited to link up with BetR for the 2023 footy season as our punting partner. They hit the market last October with some outstanding markets for their members. If you missed that, you must have been living under a rock. We cannot wait to produce SC Playbook specials of our own with them each and every week. We'll start things off this week with the World Club Challenge. I don't want to go too early on any of the trial games because we don't know the minutes of plays, but the World Club Challenge, that's one where I think teams are pretty locked in. They dropped this afternoon. No Dylan Edwards, which was interesting. So might be suffering a little bit of a niggle there somewhere. But honestly, I think Penrith are going to do a job in this game over St Helens. The line is negative 19.5. For the Panthers to win 12 plus, you can get $1.50 for that. It's meant to be 39 degrees in Penrith on Saturday. Poor old St Helens will not know what hit them out in Penrith.
I think they're looking at pushing the trials back 2 hours on Saturday.
Are they really?
So hot, yeah. So that's a common sense decision, but still, it's still going to be hot in Penrith at 8 o'clock. I'll give you the tip.
37 degrees probably won't do much for them either. Like, Penrith are taking this game extremely seriously. They've got every bit of silverware under the sun the last few years, barring the Cox Plate. I reckon Liam Martin would have had a stake in Animo in the Cox Plate last season. They'd have it, just about have every bit of silverware in Australia at the moment. So once the season does start, we will have our own SC Playbook specials. So to follow along, you can find the link to that market in any of our articles at scplaybook.com.au or in our YouTube description. Of course, it is for those aged 18 plus only. Remember to gamble responsibly. Boys, let's just touch briefly on the trial teams to come out this afternoon. As I said, deep dive with the Rugby League Guru in tomorrow's Beers and Breakevens podcast. Desi, the main one, well, not the main one, we've got 4 or 5 to touch on, but Kalen Ponga named to play in this trial, which surprised me because he's suffering from a little bit of I think it was a calf niggle, and I thought they were going to put him on ice until round 1. He was a guy I was a little bit keen on at his price. Granted, I'm still hoping he gets that dual 5'8" fullback positioning, but they're pretty confident in him if he's playing this trial.
Yeah, they must be. I mean, I haven't heard much on it, but yeah, absolutely. If he gets that dual status, lock him in. Like, you just have to have Ponga. I think he's due a bounce back year, I think. But yeah, only if he gets the dual status.
I'm excited to introduce mine and Desi's first disagreement of the season. It's taken about 1 comment, which is good. Kalen Ponga.
Don't like him.
I love Kalen Ponga. He's one of my favourite players in the comp. Supercoach-wise, there's no way I could pick a bloke not goal kicking in a new position with a basically brand new spine combination at times, and with his concussion history, I couldn't do it, hey.
Is he definitely not kicking?
Well, Hastings is a very good goal kicker, so I'd suspect not. I'd have an intel on this from what I've seen. If we find out he's kicking, I might flip back to you a little bit, but I couldn't start with Ponga.
The one that concerns me, without digressing from Supercoach too much, but it's all relevant, is just his move into the front line at 5'8" with his concussion history. It's like they're going to send so much traffic. All their attack comes off Kalen Ponga, especially at 5'8". So the amount of traffic he's going to get in defence, one little knock and he's gone for a month. I mean,
and don't get me wrong, I think he could have a really good year. I actually fully expect him to play really well and he could score well, but gee, I'd hate to cop a 2 in round 1 or something. Then you got to trade him and you're off to a slow start. There'd be nothing more frustrating. I just think it's a sit and watch, put the feet up, see how KP does, see how his health is. And even then, I still won't go near him with his head, but I hope he goes well.
Matt Dury named to start on the edge for the Eels, that vacant right edge spot of Isaiah Papali'i. He seems to, well, when I say give him first nod at it, just about every team named for the trials this weekend is pretty close to full strength. Anyone with niggles won't be playing, but not far off it. So one to monitor there. Spy Egan Butcher. Angus Crichton, a few off-field things going on, so we wish him the best going forward. Hope to see him back in the NRL as soon as possible. Round 1 would be outstanding, but for the time being, he's out indefinitely. Egan Butcher gets our first shot at that edge back row role.
Oh, I'm so interested. I think, first of all, he's a true gun footballer, Egan. He could be one of their best players in that pack, so the question for me, though, is around minutes and just how busy he'll be on an edge if he does get that role. He obviously played in the middle a lot when he came off the bench, which means his points per minute were up high. He's probably going to score some points, score some tries out that way. But for me, I think he's a nice watch if named in that position. But I tell you what, there's a lot of potential there, and he falls straight into that category of that mid-range / cheaper back rower who can pop down to after a couple of weeks if he's really exploding.
If he's named round 1 to start in the edge, which I think there's all likelihood at this stage, as you said, his base stats in limited time, enormous. So if he gets an 80-minute edge roll there, they've got Josh Wong there as well on the edge. So I don't know if he will, but he may. Let's say we get confirmation that he does start on the edge playing 80 minutes. Could you start the season with him?
I could. My issue is what we just spoke about, and maybe he comes off after 50 for someone else, and the fact that would be another Rooster in my side with that looming bye.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, I actually put him in last night for a look, and it looked all right, but I won't start with him, but he'd be a prime target after that first bye of the Roosters.
Desi, Luke Garner and Zach Hoskins named on the edges for the Panthers. Now, that doesn't help us much in terms of finding out who wins the vacated role of Viliami Kikau on the edge. But Zach Hoskins played the first trial for the Panthers. Liam Martin is out with just an injury niggle, but I think expected back round 1. Does this change much for you? Luke Garner, is he on your side at the moment?
Yeah, Garner's in. I think I'd be happy enough to just change straight to Hosking if it was him that got the spot. I think they're pretty similar sort of players. But yeah, Garner, lock him in. Butcher as well. I think if he starts and gets the 80-minute role, you may as well just start with him. There's no point having a sider on him. Get him straight in.
I will be citing Egan Butcher. I would like him against too many Roosters. I can't fit him all. Like, if I was to get Egan Butcher, I'd have to cut Dan Tupu, which is fine, but still, Tedesco, Cheese, I'm just concerned about it. If Josh Wong's a cheapie as well, he could be on the bench as well. Cheapies probably don't fall into this issue too much of having 4 or 5 players because you'd probably be sitting them anyway. But Egan Butcher, I just want to see how it plays out. I really do. And then,
I'm with you.
What if Angus Crichton comes back early? Does he go out to a 30-minute bench role? The bench spot is probably going to go to Jake Turpin, which means Brandon Smith probably spends time at 13 when Victor Radley's off the field. I just want to see how it all plays out first. Spy, Chance Nickel-Klokstad, pretty popular cheapie early on in the season, named at fullback for the Warriors. Looks pretty likely to get that spot.
Good man to have, I think, just to start the season. He'll work hard for you, Chansey, in the 1 jersey, if named in round 1. Yeah, I like it. I'm not exactly sure if he's in my side at the moment, but if you're flipping between guys and you're not 100% sure on him around that price, I think he's a good man to have. Just Mr. Reliable a little bit, isn't he?
Continue the watch on the Storm edges. Trent Loiero and Eliesa Katoa named on the edges. Again, there are so many options there. I know Tarek Sims, is in doubt for the start of the season. So even if Naheem there round one, if Tarek isn't there, he could come into that fold. I don't know if Tarek's going to play more of a middle or edge role this season, but want to see how that all plays out. On the Storm side, Justin Olam gone for 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. Marion Seve is out indefinitely with an injury, I think that is, or some sort of health concern. We might get Jack Howarth at centre because they're starting to run a little bit low early on. So keep an eye there. Desi, Teague Wilton named to start on the edge for the Sharkies. He was impressive on the trial on the weekend. Wade Graham on the bench. He's firming for an 80-minute role. It might be 60, but 80-minute role. Is he in your team?
He's not, no, but I've always been interested in him. He's obviously got a bit of Supercoach calibre about him. He's got the tackle bus. He's got he can fend off people. He's strong close to the line. So if you think he can kind of reproduce, what he's been doing, then I see no problem with it. What's he cost?
He's about 480k. He's really awkwardly priced, Teak. He's one that I haven't squeezed into my side just yet. He's 493k. Priced on a 47-point average from last season in 60 minutes. The season prior, he was 63 minutes for a 46-point average. So I do think he needs 80 minutes. If he was around that 60, I don't think he'd hurt you. But with Wade Graham lingering on the bench, it just worries me if he comes on and spends time on the edge. So
he's another bloke that fits into that category of mid-ranger. Could be really good, but I don't think it hurts just to give it a few weeks. Wait and see how he's looking. Just quietly so good for the Sharks left edge if he does start.
Yeah.
That hard line he runs, I really don't know. I know there's respect for Wade Graham, but bringing Wade back on that left last year, thought it hurt him a lot, momentum-wise. Good for Talakai, good for the left winger, just good for their structure as a whole.
Great for Sifa.
Talakai, he's a must-have.
Oh, please, Desi. You're a must-avoid, Dez Creek, mate.
What's in that beer, mate?
In saying that, if Teague Wilton does start...
He could be good.
Just that, as you said, the hard line that he runs, it's completely different style to what Wade Graham does. He's a playmaker. He catches, he plays early. You want just that space created for Sifa out wide, getting those one-on-ones and just trampling blokes. So I'd like to see, and we'll work this out, but I'd like to see Sifa's stats when Teague Wilton started on the edge over Wade Graham last year. We'll find that. We'll find that out. And Spy, the lucky last one, Joe Tapani named at number 13 for the Canberra Raiders in their trial. Now, that spot is up for grabs. I'm still under the impression that it'll go to Corey Horsburgh, maybe Emre Gula. Corey Harry is probably the smoky there, but I think probably one of the other two. But if Joe Tapani does start at lock, I suppose, is there a difference to you, him starting at lock or in the front row?
I think in the old fair dinkum department, probably not. He's going to play in the middle and do the exact same role, but it's never a bad thing to be named at 13. He's not getting less minutes at 13, is he? And there's a chance of some more. But I will tell you, if Crichton isn't named round one, which is looking obviously likely at the moment, that money for me has gone to Joey Tapani at this stage.
You've gone Taps.
Yeah, I looked at Cotter. There's something about Taps and his back end of last year that just looked good. He fit into Desi's comment of the blokes that scare you. He scares me a
He's
bit,
the only front row that scares you, isn't he?
And that's it. For an extra 60k on Cotter, I like him a lot. It's just that concern. Start of the year, maybe he doesn't have that the match fitness that he will at the back end of the season, so maybe minutes are tempered.
That's what I'm banking on. The only thing is, he's also coming off a World Cup where he played big minutes all the way through to mid-November, so there'd be residual match fitness there, and I just hate the idea of paying 700k for him early on. Raiders have a few toughish games early.
Doesn't matter. Probably good.
Probably
plays more minutes, yeah. But he's right in the mix at the moment, pending how the old team lists come out the first Tuesday in March.
Oh, well, that's enough for there. We'll be able to recap those in next week's podcast. Plenty to come out of that, especially the cheapies. We'll get a much better idea on the cheapies for round one following these trials. Desi, let's get stuck into our first team preview for the episode, and it is the Sydney Roosters, starting the year with games against the Dolphins away, Warriors at home, Rabbitohs at home, into the bye, into the Eels at home. Draw analysis, 1 being the easiest, 10 being the toughest. Smack bang in the middle for me, 5 out of 10. Always a tough one to analyse because there is a bye in those first 5 rounds, which far from ideal. As far as their players, you could make a case for any of them, Des. So James Tedesco, there's 1 to 17. I've got Tedesco, Tupu and Bolo on the wings, Joey Manu, Joseph Suaalii in the centres. Luke Keary, Sam Walker in the halves, Warrior Hargreaves, Matty Lodge at prop, Victor Radley at lock, Egan and Nat Butcher on the edges, Brandon Smith at 9. Bench of Jake Turpin, Tyrell May, Lindsay Collins and Josh Wong. Start at the back line, mate, and do you have any of those guys in your team? As far as I'm concerned, James Tedesco with those first 2 rounds is a lock and load. You could make a case for every one of those players.
Yeah, you could. I think we try to every single year as well, and probably do. 1 through 13, they look very strong. I do have Tedesco. I don't have Tupou, Manu, or Suali'i yet, or Paulo. I'll probably try and phase towards those guys, maybe 2-3 months into the season. I think that's when you kind of want to pick those guys up, but I wouldn't fault anyone starting with any of those Roosters players, because they could just start like a house on fire. They could start slapping 70 points on from the get-go. The Roosters have that in them. So I think Tedesco's lock and load. Put the captaincy on him. Yep. He might be looking the goods.
Spy, reluctant line through Joey Manu for me at 800k. I just can't pay that much for him with, I said, 2 nice games to start, but then there's a bye there. There's some tough games. I just cannot bring myself to do it. Who catches your eye? I believe you've got Sammy Walker in your team at this stage, but Suali'i at centre, he's priced on about a 56-point average. There's upside there. He moves to arguably the stronger left edge at the Roosters. What have you got?
You know what? I'm almost glad they've got that early bye, because if they didn't, I'd want nearly all of them. Yeah. Manu the exception, because he is just very expensive, and outside of his 580 he scored in that one round last year, or was it 196 or something? He was good without being incredible.
Spoken like a true non-owner.
See a regression. There will be a regression of Joey Manu.
There has to be.
As much as I love him, he's not going to average over 80.
Yeah,
again.
It's a big score to average in that side in the centres, and he'll have his big games. We know he will. He's so class, but not in for me. Teddy is in. It's just that makes sense pick. What was the term you used last year, Desi? You told us, and it was something about that it's like a technical term for not outthinking the room and just doing what's obvious. It's bloody clever.
Doing what's obvious.
Maybe a Latin phrase. You have to think about that for the week.
Occam's razor. Is that what you're talking about?
This is the best thing I've ever heard. I'm like, sometimes, can you explain it to us quickly?
Occam's razor. It's basically just saying, don't try and overthink the conclusion. Normally, it's the thing that's right in front of you.
Yeah,
that's going to be the right answer.
I took that on board, because sometimes you can outthink the room a little bit and go, could do this and this. Like, sometimes the obvious thing is just to pick Teddy against the Dolphins and probably captain him and worry about the rest later.
Occam's
I think
razor.
that fits straight in. I'm going to learn that phrase properly for the rest of the year. Yeah. And Sammy Walker, we discussed it last week, so I won't go in depth, but with an eye to Nicho Hines down the line there. Just a note on Sammy. A, he's a year older. B, his goal kicking was never that great, and they persisted, and all of a sudden he started never missing. He kicked, I think, over 80% for the back half at least of last year. So that's a lot of points. And in the last 8 rounds last year, which a lot were with Keary, he averaged 73 points per game. So if you could do something similar to open up the comp, you'd be looking good. And if you could explode with an early ton, that would be huge. So, yeah, at this stage he's in my side unless I get itchy on Nicho, but I don't think I will. But outside of him, they're the 2 backs from the Chooks I will be starting with.
Yeah, Jackson Bolo, 1 to monitor at 457k. Again, if there weren't so many other options, and then that, sorry to allude to it for the 1500th time this episode, but the round 4 bye, you could make a case for him if he does start on the right edge where he's been named in the trial game. But as I said, you can't have them all there.
Just on that as well, if he is right wing, Suali'i played right wing last year, and he averaged 56. So is there a reason to believe Paulo's going to average more than that?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Suali'i is a bit better than Jackson Bolo.
Yeah. So maybe he averages, but what I'm saying is he's priced at a pretty similar average. So is he going to average more than what Suali'i did last year? Probably not, unless they change their structures. So that's what's got me scared off Paulo, but he could be someone to monitor. Just given that left edge dominance, though, potentially doesn't score as many as we think he could.
Spy, into the forward pack. We've spoken a little bit about Egan Butcher already. Brandon Smith, the hooking position's really intriguing because so many great options and a few cheap options. We look at Sonny Luke, who we're going to get a great look at in the World Club Challenge this weekend, the sort of minutes around him, but we suspect around about 55 minutes off the bench when Mitch Kenny comes off. There's him there. There's Tanner Boyd, who's an option, who's that dual halfback hooker. Harry Grant owners, they've got one spot locked up. Where's Cheese for you? Because he starts the season late 400K. I've got him in my side as it stands. 478K, averaged 45 points in 49 minutes last season. I think he'll play between hooker and lock this season. He's not a lock, but I'm hard-pressed not owning him.
Yeah, he has not left my side since my initial draft. I think just his ability to score close to the line, now he's back at hooker more, is going to be huge. He could score a double or a hat-trick at any given point, especially in such a good side like the Roosters with so many threats. I think you mentioned in your article today, he'll be rejuvenated by any as well.
Yeah.
Like a change of scenery, got that number 9 spot back. I'm thinking only good things.
He's not a lock, except he is a lock.
Exactly. I reckon
He's a lock.
He's as close to a must-have as I think there is to start the competition.
And no one's calling him a keeper by any means. He absolutely could be, but for non-Grant owners, the idea is he's your ticket to Harry Grant round 6 or 7.
Absolutely.
But Desi is in your side then?
Yep, got him, man.
Yeah, good stuff. And anyone else in the Roosters 4-pack that interests you? I think we've probably touched on the key players there.
Yeah, I think Butcher, if he's starting that edge spot, I'm going to slide him in for sure.
Yep. Moving on to the Newey Knights, 1-17. Lockie Miller at fullback, Greg Marju, Dom Young on the wings, Brabham Best, Dane Gagai at centre. Kalen Pong and Jackson Hastings in the halves. Up front, Jacob and Daniel Saifidi, Jaden Brayley at 9. Tyson Frizzell, Lachlan Fitzgibbon on the edge, Adam Elliott at lock, a bench of Kurt Mann, Leo Thompson, Brodie Jones and Jack Hetherington to start the season. Great draw. Warriors away, Tigers away, Dolphins at home, Raiders at home, Seagulls away. I've got them at an 8 out of 10. We've spoken again about Kalen Ponga there. Boys, not a lot of Supercoach interest in this side for me, particularly in the back line. There's a question coming on Lockie Miller later, so we'll wait for that one. In the pack, I suppose, Des, people are looking at who's going to step up in the absence of David Clemmer, and they're thinking Daniel Saifidi, Jacob Saifidi, do we see increased output from them? And then new recruit Adam Elliott, who's set to play some big minutes there. Any interest?
I think Elliott's probably the guy that I'd be looking at. Just if he gets the minutes, he's going to be good. You know that he's got the tackle bust ability. He's got all the weapons that make you a good Supercoach forward. Whereas I don't know if the Saifidi boys really have that. They haven't really shown it over the years playing Supercoach that they have any massive upside. So yeah, I'd be looking at Elliott much more hastily than those two.
Yeah,
I don't mind Daniel, to be honest. But that's based on previous pedigree. I think he averaged 63 and 59 in the 2 years before last. Minutes didn't change much, so was it just injury last year that brought him down? If it was, and he's healthy, there's no reason to think he can't get back.
It was so
up
good
to
the year
60.
before.
Yeah, I think he made... Did he play Origin or he made the squad?
Played Origin.
He can score a try, so I actually don't mind him. But I just want to see what happened last year and has he fixed it first. That's
He didn't
just
look
as well
great in the
concerned.
trial of the weekend.
So I think it's a really close watch, which is similar to a lot of the Knights guys. But he could be someone you could plug in early enough if someone's underperforming, make some cash out of them and potentially change to a keeper down the track.
Spy, we'll get on Lockie Miller now, save from going later. Priced at 593K. He averaged 63 points in 76 minutes last season. That was between the wing and fullback for the Sharkies. There's a fair bit of interest around him. I don't see it.
I don't hate it. I'll tell you why. It's
He's dual fullback centre. I'll give him...
You pick him in the centres, he runs a lot, but he tackle busts a lot. So what you find from that, if he can accumulate 30-odd in runs, then average 12-ish or 10 to 15 in tackle busts, which he does potentially do, you're in the 40s already before anything happens.
Soft draw.
Don't mind it in the centres. He's someone that could potentially slide into my side, but I think I'm probably unlikely to start with him, but I don't hate the decision to do it if you want to have a crack.
If you're going down that mould at a similar price, I'd prefer goal-kicking Nick Meaney for the Storm rather than... Like, you mentioned him there... You mentioned before about Kalen Pong and new combinations. It's going to be the exact same for Lockie Miller and then some.
Definitely, but what Lockie doesn't rely upon is that running and the tackle bust, which automatically can get him up to that 40. And if you're going to add a try or a line break, whatever it may be, it could be okay, but I agree. Meaney's probably got that more reliability and upside with goal kicking, chance to set up tries and scoring. But look, I don't hate him is what I'm saying, and he maybe is worth a bit of a look, but currently on my watch list, pretty hard.
Yep. Guys, I sat down with Paddy and George this afternoon, had a little bit of chat about all things Supercoach, and one of the roguest takes you'll ever hear in your life around Tommy Trbojevic, so wait for this one and just enjoy it. Very warm welcome to the studio for the first time. It's Paddy and George from Mortgage Choice. Boys, supported us through the 2022 season and you're back on board for 2023. Paddy, before we get to your take, which is just going to make people I don't even want to get into it yet. How are you, mate?
Mate, I'm well, and I'm about to be a lot better once I get this off my chest, I'll tell you that much.
Strength.
And you'll all be better for it, I'll tell you that.
I'll be a lot better when you get off that chair and me and George can start speaking. Georgie, mate, how have you been, mate? All good?
Good, mate, good. Thanks for having us in.
Paddy, let's get straight into it. Fire away with your take, and before people turn off what he's about to say, hear the man out because you know your numbers, you tell us time and time again, and by the end of it, I have sort of reassessed my initial take. Fire away.
Right, I'll kick it off. We're talking Turbo versus Jurbo. We're talking who is more valuable for the Manly Seagulls. Now, I'm a Manly fan myself, full disclaimer, and I want to say this is not a question of who's more talented, it's who's more valuable as an asset to our team. Now, I'm a Manly fan, as I said, I want him in there every day of the week. So he's 100% fit, Turbo all the way. But looking from an investment perspective, Jake is more valuable. And at this point in time,
Dreaming.
if I could only
Absolute
choose
rocks in
one,
it.
Tommy or Jake, at this point in time, it would be Jake. Now, over the past 4 seasons, right, Turbo's only played 44 games out of 96, so roughly 42%, right? Jake's played 88 out of 96. Now, that's literally double the return of Tommy. Now, Turbo's costing 1.1 mil a season, locked into 2026. Jake's costing 900k a season, locked into 2026. So for the next 3 years, we're paying 200k more for Turbo with half the return of Jake. So you might go to me, Pat, well, what about 2021? You know?
There's 20. Yeah, the point is with Tommy Turbo, I see where you're coming from slowly, but Tommy Turbo will win you a comp. Jake won't. That's where you get your extra value.
100%.
Yeah, look, again, it's about longevity of an asset rather than just one great return, because one great return is not a sign of a great investment, right? And I agree with you. I mean, 2021, Tommy scored 28 tries in 18 games. He pretty much took us to the semi-finals. He won the Dally M. Doesn't get better than that as a return.
Winning a grand final's probably better.
Yeah, all right, mate. Well, sorry, I'll put that down for my next theory to include all details. But anyway, won the Dally M. Personally,
He couldn't have done much more for that side that year.
Correct, yeah, especially with the way things started for us that season as well. I mean, I think we were down the bottom for the first 5 games straight. But, if we let's say we remove that 2021 season, right, and we remove Jake's 2021 season, then Tom only played 26 games out of 72, and he only scores 11 tries, right? So for 3 of those 4 years for Jake, he played 65 out of 72 games, and he misses only 87 tackles in 3 years, making a massive 2,700. Now, I know, can't really compare tries and tackles in league. It's, apples and oranges, really. But the point is that when you're investing in something, whether it be players or property, consistency creates the value. So when you have an asset that performs at 84%, Jake, versus 42%, Tommy Turbo, and Jake costs 200k less to hold, every day of the week, Jake is more valuable to Manly.
Yeah.
So I put that out to you all, take it how you will.
Spoken like a true numbers, man, yeah. Look, I don't hate it. I mean, I do hate it, but I understand your reasoning.
Appreciate the effort that's gone
I can, yeah. And it must have been a big day in the office today, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, mate, some hard work, some real statisticians at work, i.e. me. Plus, also, Jakey always does the thumbs up, which I think gives him a few extra points, in my opinion. I love it.
Georgie, you're the good bloke in the duo. We've got through the hard stuff.
Definitely.
Mate, it's Valentine's Day. What have you got for us? Hit us with something more heartwarming
Never getting those
than
minutes
that.
back in my life.
Nah.
Mate, if you're like me, you need to make it up to the missus.
Yep.
Organise a holiday or something, mate, where you're one-stop shop for anything personal finance, whether it's holidays, need to get the jet ski, need to save up, get a ring for the missus, anything like that, mate, we'll sort you
that's
out.
it, mate. Like you've been on the podcast before, but we've spoken about obviously the mortgage broking side of things, getting house loans, getting the best rates for it, all that sort of thing. But refinancing, and you can do any level of loan, can't you? As you said, it could be doing it for a wedding, doing it for your
Definitely, mate. Yeah,
doing it for your honeymoon.
100%, and not even that, outside of personal loans as well, and asset finance, anything like that for all the tradies out there that need tools, and even car finance, all that sort of stuff. Aside from that, we also do mortgages, residential, commercial finance. We're a one-stop shop essentially. So here to help in any way that we can to all the SC Playbook faithful, mate. Yeah,
the rugby league guru's out there listening right now, and he's about to get married, and I think his ears have just pricked. So, mate, the beauty of it is you save $129, free consult if you listen to the SC Playbook podcast. Correct. So they can drop the code when they get in contact with you. How can they do that?
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, probably easiest ways through our Instagram page, Pat and George Mortgage Choice. Otherwise, mate, through any of the articles that you put up on the website, all our details, and go to from there.
QR code, mobile number, emails, all of that. Boys, once again, thank you very much for the support of SC Playbook in 2023. We'll get you back on for, mate, George, you're looking after stats next time.
Don't bother with that. What a waste of time. Get me on for a regular segment, I say. I'll bring you the best theories in the NRL.
Mate.
Hands down.
Yeah. Talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles, you, mate.
Boys, thank you very much.
Thanks, Timmy.
Cheers.
Thanks to the boys for jumping into the studio there. Let's move on to our squad preview of the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, plenty of Supercoach relevance at this side. Boys, again, you mentioned already how soft the draw is. They're 1-17. We'll go through it very quickly because it's almost identical to last season. Drinkwater, Tawalangi, Hiku, Holmes, Felt, Dearden, Townsend, McLean, Robson, Cotter, Jeremiah Nanai, Cohen Hess, the new man on the edge there, may or may not start round one. They've got a few issues around their edge back rower. Jason Taumalo low at lock. Granville, Tamu, Neem and Mitch Dunn. Their 14 is up for grabs as well. That could be anyone. Desi, with their draw, that back line, the two that spring to mind are Valentine Holmes and Scott Drinkwater. And then there's a bit of a flyer on the wing there, Murray Taulungi. He's at about 560k on a 55 average, I believe. Yeah, I mean, you could make a strong case for all of them.
You could. We saw Drinkwater and Val did, last year, and Val, especially at the back end of last year. It just makes me not want to go without him, I saw his ownership percentage just flying up. I've never actually owned him in Supercoach, so I think this might be the year to start with him. He just looks like the strongest centre wing for the opening 2 months. He's got the goal kicking. You'd be kind of crazy to not start with him.
I'm with you, mate, on that one. I think the reverse in Supercoach too, the bloke that scares you is the bloke that is fun to own. I think that's Val. He runs a lot, he roams, he goal kicks, he scores tries, he offloads, he does a bit of everything, and he's in my side. And I'm really excited to start the year with him and just see if he can produce. Just need one of those big early tons to really justify it in that opening month. No one comes without risk, and he is priced reasonably high on a 69 average, but I'm looking forward to owning. He's good to watch. Even when he runs, I get excited. He's just an athlete. He's
not in my team at the moment, and it's my big dilemma of my side. I want him. I'm just looking at 720k to start the season, priced on a 69 average. I said if it wasn't for the soft draw, I'd be happy to go elsewhere. If he was at fullback, I know he essentially plays as a roaming fullback anyway at centre, but at the end of the day, he's getting less attacking opportunity at centre. The way Scotty Drinkwater plays, like so much of their attack is just relying on stripping numbers, Scott Drinkwater, cut out ball to winger, the centres get cut out all the time. A lot of what Val does is just roaming infield and finding the attacking stats, but that doesn't always come your way. Said he's a big price tag. He had 6 scores under 41 last season. While he does have the softer draw to start the season, Spy, at the same time, teams are fully fit. They're ready to go. Attacking structures are a bit off early on in the season. It takes a bit of time to develop. I can see him potentially starting slow, and there's so much money I can utilise elsewhere in my squad there.
I think the answer to that is he falls into that category of if he's pretty quiet, if he goes 35-40 the first 2 weeks, gone. Before his price drops, I'll move that money elsewhere. One thing with the Cowboys is, and this comes from a Murray Talangi owner last year for a few weeks when I tried to have a bit of a pod play.
Yeah, you got smoked, didn't you?
Scotty just doesn't always cut out. Fullbacks love the cutout ball, but he knows how good Val is, and so often he'll just hit him one-on-one, and Val is just good enough to score. So Talangi misses out on a bit of that. That could change.
Thanks for just shitting on my theory, Spy. I appreciate that, mate.
Right, mate. You wouldn't know it if you didn't own Big Murray last year for a few weeks. But there were so many times I'm like, Q. Oh.
All right, let me refrain then off the back of you saying that, and Spy, I do take some things that you say on board from time to time. Right edge, cut out to Kyle Felt all the time.
Loves it.
And Hickey will be tried out. But on the left edge, you're saying, yeah, he might just play short to Val.
It's just an anomaly, and it's probably just because Val is so good.
Yeah, okay.
He knows he doesn't necessarily need to throw that fizzer. He just hits Val early, sweeping out the back, and bang, and he just goes off that left foot. Thank you very much. And then converts.
Reece Robson, boys, is a very interesting one. A lot of hype about him early in the preseason. I think the emergence of Sonny Luke and potentially bigger minutes there and Tanner Boyd has sent people off him a little bit. 75 minutes per game last season, averaged 64 points. I think he's an 80-minute player for the Cowboys. Desi, for me, if I'm going to pay big bucks for him, I'm happy to pay the extra 100-odd K for Harry Grant. But a lot of people see it differently, and they see Robson starting at far more value and more upside at his price than Harry Grant. Where do you see Reece Robson?
Yeah, I think he's priced pretty fairly. Me personally, I'm going to go for the cheaper hooker route this year. But if I was going to pay up, I would definitely pay up the extra 100 and whatever it is for...
678K to start the season.
Yeah, the extra 150-odd K for Harry. It's probably worth it, I'm thinking. But
130K to go to Harry Grant. I'm just paying that.
I'm not as convinced.
I think Robson probably could average somewhere close to him. I mean, he's just as big an attacking threat close to the line. He can dive over. He can set up tries. We've seen it. So with that draw, he could easily outscore him over the first 2 months.
I think there's a massive chance they meet in the middle in that first month. If Robson could get in the 70s, maybe Harry's in the 70s, then they can come meet in price before you make that move potentially. Robson he averaged 72 over the last 10 games last year when his minutes were a bit more consistent. He's a very, very good footballer. I don't mind him, and look, I've got those cheaper hookers in Cheese and Tanner Boyd, but I think if I had to go up to anyone, I'd potentially start with Robson just for that value play. See if you can make some dollars before going to Harry.
I think this is, for me, Desi's concept of not overthinking it. Like, we've got the best hooker in Supercoach for not that much more. I think people are trying to get too tricky. If you're running a Sonny Luke, Tanner Boyd combination or Cheese in there, sweet, and you want to save that money and spend elsewhere, I think that's absolutely fine because there's some really good value hookers there. But when it comes to Grant v. Reece Robson, I'm just...
Does that extra 130 odd though cost you getting to Cleary and Hines quicker? You know, you got to look at that as well. I'm not saying I'd definitely start with Robson, but I think it's got to be considered. And I think he's probably a better footballer than people realise, Reece Robson. I really like him. And this is all going to come back to how does Harry start the year. I think he'll tackle a lot. Will he have those attacking opportunities like last year? Time's going to tell. So, yeah, it's a big one. It's going to be a really interesting watch to come those first few weeks.
Boys, Ruben Cotter is in my side at 623K. Really high on him. 57 minutes per game last season, averaged 59 points. I see him playing a 65-minute role this season. Any injuries, concussions there throughout the first half in particular, I can see him playing maximum minutes with a bit of luck, maybe a little bit optimistic there, particularly early in the season. But he did have some injury niggles throughout the entirety of last season. I think with increased minutes, I know he's a front rower and he's not going to get, massive attacking stats throughout the year, and nor should you expect them. But I do think he's an out-and-out NRL star, and he had 1 try and 1 try assist, which Desi, I can see him improving on, and I can see that 59-point average going to 70+ this season. Am I being optimistic, or are you with me?
No, I can see it happening for sure. Just the fact that he only had that 1 try last year says it all, and he's still averaging 60. So, I could see him scoring 10 tries a year. He's that sort of player. Same with Types as well. I think that these guys could go over, maybe not 10, maybe like 7 or 8.
You'd take that.
7 or 8 tries for a front rower. I mean, I think it's possible. I think it's feasible.
He's so good.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried not to own him, but in saying that, I'm hoping he's the kind of bloke that isn't going to absolutely destroy
He's
you.
still not going to hurt you, Spy. And I was about to ask you, I assume you don't have him because you've got Taps running, Taps and Cotter at front row. I think that's a bold early play, and you're leaving yourself a little bit slim for finances elsewhere. But you've obviously got down the Taps route, and I can see the case to pay that little bit extra for Tapani, who is such a proven gun. But yeah, Cotter, he must have been. As I said, Taps will hurt you. I don't think Cotter will.
Yeah, and Cotter could just be the most beautiful selection though. If you start with him and does what you think he could, it all comes down to minutes. If he plays 60, you'll be happy enough, but maybe a little bit frustrated. If he plays 65 plus, you'll be absolutely cheering, and everyone's going to want him probably sooner rather than later. My only question mark on him, I thought of it today, is with that opening draw for the Cowboys, does he get
Early
some early
rest.
showers in that first month? If they're winning easily, they're probably not going to push him through. But I mean, maybe they don't win easily. That's the beauty of the NRL.
Yeah.
But it's just something to consider. But I agree, he'd be a nice bloke to own. That's for sure.
Yeah. New Zealand Warriors. Number 1, Chance Nickel-Cockstad. Wings Dallin with Tenny Zelezniak and Edward Kosi. At the centre, Viliami Vailea and Marcelo Montoya. Tamari Martin and Sean Johnson in the halves. Adam Fanua-Blake, Mitch Barnett up front. Murata Niokora, Josh Curran on the edges. Tohu Harris at lock and Wade Egan at number 9. Dylan Walker, Tom Ale, Bunte Afoa and Freddie Lussick on the bench. We expect the big minute forwards to be Tohu Harris and Murata Niokora in this side. There is going to be some chopping and changing mid-game on what we've heard throughout the preseason between a few of those guys. Mitch Barnett potentially spending a bit of time on the edge. Tohu Harris moving to prop. Tohu Harris will be the ball-playing lock essentially for this team on all reports. The link man. I suppose a side that there could be lots of chops and changes, Spy, in the early stages of the year. I find it hard to make a case for many of them. Murata Niokora is a big watch if he gets his 80 minutes, and there's every chance he does on reports. But as it stands, I don't have any Warriors in my team. Chans, if we're slim on cheapies round 1, maybe we put Chans in there at about 320k, but I don't have any at the moment.
Yeah, Chance is probably the obvious one that's just a candidate for your opening side. I think the Warriors are the biggest watch and wait team of the whole competition this year. I quite like a lot of their young players. I think Niakora's a gun. Even blokes in the back line I quite like. That Valea could be quite damaging. But
you just want to see him put it together.
I mean, there's no need to risk it early, is there, and put a few in. You can sit back. If a few of them are playing well, you can pluck them out and go bang, 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 drop them into your side. But I think you just want to wait and see how the Warriors are going early. Desi, you looking at me funny, or do you agree?
No, I was just thinking I kind of want to captain Sean Johnson now. Week 1.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Niokora, as I said, he's the interesting one for me, starting at 419k. Probably fits this similar billing to, say, Egan Butcher if he gets the minutes, Teague Wilton. Genuine value. Averaged 44 minutes per game last season for 40 points per game. My issue with him, though, is that, the season, when his minutes increase, I think his PPM drops, and this is what we've seen in recent years. 2021, 58 minutes per game, 41 average. Go back to 2019, 56 minutes per game, 44 average. So when he has played more minutes, the average has still sat around that 40 to 44 mark. That being said, if he does get an 80-minute role, I think he'll be a relatively focal point of their attack on the edge. If he's playing 80 minutes, he'll look good, but I think I'm happy to wait till round 3 to do that.
Yeah, you'd wait anyway, but it's worth noting, I think he did probably cover centres quite a lot.
Bit of centre, bit through the middle.
And that might have just dropped his points per minute. So, but there's no need to get him now. I just think it's a risk you don't need to take. So, see how he goes, and might be a Warrior or two on my side, which will make Walsh and Carlos very happy come round 3 or 4. Hopefully they start well, the boys.
We're doing Bloke in a Bar regional tours, the first 4 rounds of the competition. We're actually going to the heartland of Walsh and Carlos. I think that there's a big plaque for him on the sign coming into town, Walsh.
So,
yeah, so looking forward to that one, having a beer with the big fella. Bloke Tins, thanks to Kempy for the use of the studio and the use of these beautiful tinnies as we do the show. Desi, at the Warriors, is there anyone there that you'd see yourself starting with or considering early on?
Pretty much only Chance. I can't look past him.
You got him?
Yeah, I've got him. I had him the whole year in 2019. He didn't let me down, so I'm hoping he kind of reproduces that sort of season.
Bit of loyalty there.
Yeah.
Big season. Just quietly, Metcalf's got to be close.
he's got to be close. Yeah. I hope. I mean, Dylan Walker's going to be the 14, we believe, which makes it hard for him to slot in as that bench utility, and he's quite versatile, Metcalf. So, I don't think they start with both of them on the bench, and I hope they don't, because if he starts playing 20 minutes a game and bumping his price up to $3.50, just being a real slow burn, it'll kill a gun cheapie for us. But at some point, Metcalf will be an option.
Fullback halves could be anywhere, but he's a talent, and you've got SJ there who's, he's not SJ that he used to be. Sean's one of my favourite ever players. He could be my favourite ever player in his prime, but physically he's not what he was. And a bloke like Metcalf could come in, or he could go to fullback and Chance goes elsewhere in the back line. There's
Centre,
a few options.
There is options.
Good.
If he's good enough, he will get his start, and it could be as soon as round 1.
Yep.
So the Warriors draw Knights at home, Roosters away, Cowboys away, Bulldogs at home, Sharks away. 4 out of 10 for me. That's why I'm reluctant on Chance. I want to see this new team come together. I want to see Chance lock down the fullback role. Again, if he kills it first 2 weeks and scores well, maybe for round 3. But I'm just not quite convinced at this stage. Guys, this subscription package at SC Playbook is available. $40 for the NRL package. Full package NRL, AFL, BBL, $50. Stacks of extra content on site. My team reveal went up on site today. That is a subscriber-only feature. Access to our WhatsApp groups, which are popping off there. I've been doing Q&As with people, with the SC Playbook fans there each and every week, talking through their teams, their issues, everything heading into round 1. I'll be doing that every week of the season. Obviously, access to our major unlimited group prize that was mentioned earlier on, and plenty more. Boys, let's punch out a few questions and then wrap it up for this week. We will start with Lloyd Clark. Realistically, can Sonny Luke score more or similar than Cheese, probably around the same minutes to start the season? Cheers, Cooper Maker. Desi, I'll start with you. So he's obviously looking at Tanner Boyd or Harry Grant or someone there, and this is a similar conundrum that I might have if Sonny Luke comes out and kills it in 55, 60 minutes in the World Club Challenge. So at about 200k less, can Sonny Luke get thereabouts to Cheese?
Yeah, it's really that's a real tough question to answer, before you see any round 1 action. But hazard a guess, I'd say so. I'd say you probably can. It just takes, that one attacking stat you can jag as the hooker coming on, playing 55, 60 minutes. So I'd say he can. There's nothing to put it too far out of the question.
He's capable, but I'll tell you what, the Cheese upside is probably a lot more than Sonny Luke.
I'm really hoping Sonny Luke doesn't come out and kill it in the World Club Challenge, just because if he does, I might have to cut Harry Grant. I might force the hand to cut Harry Grant and start with the other two. So I want Grant so bad. And he's locked into my team. Well, he's not locked into my team. We'll see what happens on Saturday night at 11 p.m. when they kick off. Spy, one from Mike Roki. With Xavier Savage eating only milkshakes for a few weeks, broken jaw, the poor bugger, stuff that, would you consider Geordie Rapana as a start if he gets the fullback role? Rapper has been named at fullback. Scored pretty well there in the past. I believe he scored quite well there in 2021 when we had the record-breaking scores. So any averages floating in from that time maybe inflated a little. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he could be pretty handy, but it's probably a short-term play which maybe lacks a bit of upside. I'd probably prefer Yamini or similar at that price. But Rapper will do a job for you. You know how hard he works.
He could have about 40 runs a game.
Yeah, I think his average at the fullback is pretty good. I think it's probably worth... Might have a look at him this week in the one jersey across the years and come back to me in 7 days and I'll give you a definitive yes or no.
Put a line through any outside backs at the Raiders if Rapper does, because he won't be passing that football, I'll tell you that much. Desi, Zach Clogan is going Welch and Stefano too light at front row. He has Pele and Moali on the bench currently.
No, that's pretty much what I've got running at the moment. So I think it's perfectly fine if you can pull it off. But yeah, Tarpany is obviously one that you probably want to target. He's the upper echelon gun that you'd want. But I think Stefano and Welsh have both looked good, so I can't see why you wouldn't just go those two.
I think just prior to that news on Angus Crichton, that was my exact starting front row. I think the same as Desi. Just quietly, Desi, we're in a bit of agreement to start the year, which maybe it's a good sign.
Or is it a bad one?
I don't know. We'll know in a month.
Yeah, we'll know sooner or later.
Time will tell. I like it, and that's generally my approach to it. My only concern with that makeup is that if Stefano or Welch start slowly, I know you can flip them, but if it's just not quite happening, you don't really have a great backup option between Pele and Moali, who are probably going to get relatively limited game time. Could see yourself really weak in the front row early on, but
That's what trades are for.
That's what trades are for.
Trades for. I must say, once I did put Tapani in the front row there, and I kept both of those two guys, which would be Stefano on the bench there, I felt a lot more at ease.
Having one bit of security there, that's what I'm thinking as well. And you say that's what trades are for, but if you don't spend much money in the front row, which is fine, and you have two weak bench players there and one of their two starters isn't going real well, when they're around 350k, you don't have cash to move up to Ruben Cotter or Joe Tarpany for an extra 350k. Could just get a little bit dicey pretty early.
It's a two-trade scenario, isn't it? You'd have to drop someone else to get a gun, so that is a huge risk.
Boys, let's finish on a good one from Bullet Blair. I hope that's his real name because that's a sick name. Great question. Who is going to produce the most cash out of Tana Boyd or Sammy Walker? Because I can make such a great case for starting either of these blokes in your reserve half position. I'll start with you, Spy. I mean, you've got Sam Walker. I believe you have Tana Boyd as well. So it's a great question for you. If you could only have one of them, who do you see generating more cash?
Yeah, I do have both. Let's say Sonny Luke does come out this week and kill it. I can flip Tana Boyd back to the halves, but it would be at the expense of Sammy Walker. I prefer to own Tana Boyd to start the year. There was a little whisper around maybe he doesn't goal kick today, so we'll get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
But assuming he's goal kicking, I'm really happy to own Tana Boyd. I think he's a really good player. I liked what I saw of him on the weekend. He had a few repeat sets. He runs the ball, he tackles, he goal kicks. At that price, I think you can lock in some decent points and plenty of price rises, whereas Sammy Walker needs to really kill it too. So I think just in the money-making question, it's Tana Boyd for me.
Couple of easy tries for Tana as well. If Big Davey Feeder pulls his finger out of his you-know-what.
That's it.
He was, like, I don't know, not convincing in week one of trials.
Just on for Feeder, it's worth discussing. I watched him pretty closely in the Sunday night trial. Once everyone went to bed, put the feet up, it was good. I actually thought he looked all right. He had 10 carries for 120-odd metres. His first trial, he was actively seeking the ball. I had an eye on him. He blew up a few times. They punched him a couple of times out of dummy half, which they never did last year. I didn't mind it. He wasn't busting tackles at will, but it's the first trial.
One tackle bust.
Was it? Yeah.
In 11 runs.
But I mean, it's the first trial. It's about getting your feet under yourself. I didn't mind it. Put it like that.
I've got him on my side, and I don't think we leave him, but it didn't reassure me. Boys, let's wrap it up for episode 4 of the SC Playbook pre-season podcast. Desi, thank you very much, mate.
Cheers.
And Spy, as always.
Cheers, boys.
Righto, guys. Thanks for tuning in.